Hello and welcome to 251. Two pianists, 5 minutes, one subject. And today we're going to be carrying on with our films about Jazz Strand, and we're going to talk about Round Midnight, which may be one of the most well-known jazz films. My name's Simon Whiteside.
And my name's Nick Tomlin. This is 251. So Round Midnight was released in 1986, directed by Bertrand Tavernier, from a script by Tavernier and David Raphael. And it's really an adaptation of the book Dance of the Infidels by Francis Poydras, who was a kind of jazz fan, really, who befriended Bud Powell after Bud Powell moved to Paris. And it really sort of, the film tells the story of their friendship. That's the basic plot, really, if there's a plot. Although the Dale Turner character, played of course by Dexter Gordon, I think he's really a composite of Bud Powell and Lester Young. I think the story is kind of Bud Powell's, but the character and the language he uses is really taken from Lester Young.
Yeah, and there's sort of a Billie Holiday turns up, doesn't at one point?
Yeah,
he calls her lady, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah. In fact, he calls everybody. He uses lady as a sort of like Lester Young did, basically.
Yeah.
And what's kind of remarkable about this film is the number of musicians who are in it, and also not actually in acting roles as well. So Herbie Hancock, who actually won the Academy Award for the best score for this film, but there was also John McLaughlin's in it, Bobby Hutcherson, Billy Higgins, Wayne Shorter, Ron Carter, Freddie Hubbard. It is a huge list of musicians. And I mean, personally, I would say it's probably my favourite jazz film. I think it gets a lot right. It gets a lot right that other films get wrong, you know. And I think the fact that so many musicians were involved in the film, obviously Dexter playing the main character in a great performance, just kind of gives it an authenticity which a lot of films about jazz don't really have.
No, I mean, I think the only other film that gets there is Mo Better Blues. I think that has quite a good feel. And I think, I mean, even though Terence Blanchard scored that, I think. Yeah. So, people who actually are in the other film that has jazz in it that I thought was very good recently was the Motherless Brooklyn. It's got some good jazz scenes.
Okay, I don't know that.
It's got, anyway, that's for another day. So I think I read somewhere that Herbie Hancock said because they built those sets as jazz clubs, he reckoned it was the most a pleasing place he'd ever played jazz because it was set up perfectly, and also the audience were told not to talk. It was like an attentive audience, and a perfectly brilliantly set up scenario, enough space, all that sort of stuff, piano tuned.
Yeah, right. I didn't know that. Yeah.
And I do like the score. The diegetic part of the music is really interesting. What he does, particularly there's one where the daughter is nervously at home.
Yeah,
and he does this really nice sort of slightly nervy piano thing. Yeah, where he's dampening the keys.
Yeah, it's
dampening the strings.
It's a really good score. Aside from the actual the musical performances, obviously, which are great. And Gordon actually went on to receive an Oscar nomination. I don't think he won the Oscar, but he was nominated for Best Actor. And Marlon Brando sent him a letter, apparently, saying that it was the first time in 15 years that he'd learnt something new about acting from watching Dexter Gordon, which is quite incredible.
That is, yeah. Well, how not to do it? Was that? No, I'm just joking.
He doesn't say that.
You have to be careful with those sorts of compliments.
I think it was definitely a compliment.
No, I'm sure it was.
But yeah, no, I mean it's a great film. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it straight away because it's a great film. And I think for me it's kind of romantic but not sentimental, and I think that's a lot to do with Dexter's performance. He kind of somehow grounds it, and it never gets. It could tip into kind of sentimentality, but somehow it never does for me, which I think is.
No, I think you're right. And don't forget Martin Scorsese as the agent at the end there.
Cameo. Yeah.
Well, that's all for today. My name's Simon Whiteside.
And my name's Nick Tomlin. Goodbye.